being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I want to first start out by saying that I made it a mistake on Jamie's last episode when I called you guys fiance. Your baby daddy is in the studio, rocking the baby, taking on baby daddy duties. Well done, sir.
Yes, we will see
So
how
that
this
me and
goes.
baby mama can be sitting here and talk. So forgive me. I didn't mean to like cause any sort of like pressure or anything like that. Trust me. I'm going to have a bunch of guys who are like, "You fuck you, area."
I bought a ring right after that.
Oh, really? He said he bought a ring right after the podcast. Demi, thank you for being in.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I've had Jamie on now twice on the podcast. This will be your first appearance,
Yes.
but both of the times that I had Jamie on, you were actually in studio.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was pre-baby, and I believe you guys had like just started dating, or like, no, you guys had been dating for a little bit, but had just moved in,
Yeah.
doing the cohabiting thing. Fast forward a year and a half, now you have +1. So before we get into conversations about like what it is that you do and everything and why you're here, I do want to talk about that, about do you feel like your life has changed in a very drastic way in a relatively short amount of time?
Absolutely. I think that buying the house was a really big accomplishment for me. It was probably the first thing that I knew I wanted to make as a step in adulthood, and it was something that I wanted to do long term. And then we got to experience everything together, and we found out we were pregnant, which was super exciting. I knew that we were ready to tackle that together, and then over the last 6 months, it's just been solely focused on family and baby. So super thankful for that. But yeah, it's been great.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because right now there's like this growing discontent with Americans about like the affordability of life.
Yeah.
And the home purchase is probably the most paramount of any of these topics. So like obviously, you know, cars are getting more expensive, bills are getting more expensive, just living is getting more expensive. But also like a real big pivotal point in the American dream is something like that asset in which you're both living in and building equity towards the home.
Yeah.
You bought your first home relatively like young, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, which is by all means like roses for you.
Yeah.
But can you talk about that a little bit for me? Because there's a lot of people that are the overwhelming consensus is, you know, housing is unaffordable, yet here you are and you bought your first home relatively young. What were some of the steps that you took? What were some of the disciplines that you had that were able to afford you that first home purchase?
So whenever I decided I wanted to buy a home, Jamie and I we had only been dating for a year at that time. So this was a plan that I had prior to dating Jamie. And we lived together in the apartment that I had in High Ridge for about, 10 months or so. And it just wasn't something that I was thinking about long term. I was very proud of it because it was the first place that I had on my own. It was my space, my style. So we were happy there, but it was always in the back of my mind that I was like, I want to purchase my first house. I want to move out and have something for myself. So about a year into that, I was pretty well developed in my career. I was in a really good position that I felt comfortable. I was putting a lot of money in savings. We were able to, with him living with me, that helped out a ton.
When you say a lot of money, out of curiosity, percentage-wise, you get a check. What percentage of every check would you say you were putting like in a checking or a savings account specifically for buying a home?
I would say like at that time, I was getting paid bi-weekly. 25% of that check was going into a savings account, but also I had worked. My parents were very traditional. So before I could even drive a car, I had a full-time job. So it was like my parents were dropping me off at work. I worked at a summer camp. I worked at a real estate office. Like I had a lot of career experience before I was an actual adult. So all of that money got put into savings. And then I also went to school locally. So I went to community college with an A+ program. I went to UMSL for my graduate's degree and my bachelor's degree. And I spent hardly any money on that. And then I got a job immediately out of college.
Can we talk about that briefly? Because I think that is actually like a pivotal step. I tell everybody that, like, 'cause I coach high school wrestlers, and every around this time, like all the seniors are starting to think about like what college am I gonna go to and all these other things. And I told all of them, I was like, unless you're getting a full ride or like a huge partial scholarship, go to a community college. Go to community college. Get your associate's degree, and then you can transfer to a 4-year university, and you only need 2 of those years. Yeah. Because anybody that goes to like a 4-year university right off the bat, everybody can attest to this. You're taking the same general education classes that anybody can take ever. You're just paying a premium for them. Yeah. So it's like, get your associate's degree in whatever field it is that you want to pursue, finance, marketing, business, whatever it is. Yeah. Then transfer to a 4-year university. Now you're getting that 4-year degree, that undergrad degree, but for half the cost, literally. So I think that was super wise. And you did it UMSL, which is like known as like the commuter school. I'm
It
also a
is a
fellow
commuter
Triton.
school. Yeah.
So I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But I graduated with $13,000 of student loan debt.
I didn't even graduate with any student loan debt.
God bless.
I was paying it off as I was going. I think it's a double-edged sword though, because I remember being in high school and I was so upset that my parents were like, do A+, do A+. All of my friends were going to university.
Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys, thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second, I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show.
All I wanted to do was go to university because, again, I lived in a very traditional household. Like, my parents were very strict. We were very by the book. So it was like, all I would do is I would go to school and I would work. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to university. I'm going to go to college.
You're going to have some fun?
Well, yeah, I wanted to have some fun. And my parents were, they were like, you could do that, but you are going to pay for it. They're like, if you want to do A+, then we'll help you finish out your schooling. So that was a decision that I had to make. And honestly, by the time I hit my senior year in high school, I was ready to graduate early. And I was so used to working and making money that I was like, I just want to keep making more money.
Yeah.
So at that time, my senior year in high school, I worked full-time at a real estate office, and I also worked part-time at a country club. So I would work all day at the real estate office as an office manager, and then I would go after my work shift to the country club to be a server. To be a server. And that gave me a really, really good amount of money at that age. So I was able to save a lot of that.
Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah.
Like when you say a really good amount of money, like I remember when I was working at, like I was a waiter at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I would work 3 days a week while I was going to school. Mm-hmm. And I was making roughly like $400 a week as a waiter.
Yeah.
And I remember like my friends were working at Walgreens or Breadco or whatever, and they were making like $8 or $9 an hour, and they were working 5 days a week, and I was still crushing them because like also waiting tables was cash.
Yeah.
So like for me, those 2.5 years where I wasn't going to, because I went to UMSL right out of school, right out of high school, just because I had like I had Bright Flight, and then between FAFSA and my scholarships, I basically like I was taking out like $1,000 or $2,000 a year. That's why when I say I was $13,000 in student loan debt, I also took some money out because when my mom died, I just needed money to live, like a little extra cash, you know what I mean, for like my car note and things like that. Because like I was like, oh shit, like all this stuff is like on my shoulders now. So it was kind of like a switch was turned in my life, like time to turn into an adult. But the reason I bring that up is like that $400 a week was like I was crushing it. I was like I was the wealthiest of all my friends that were broke. You know what I mean?
For sure. And that's how I was. Like I remember exactly what I made. I would work full time at the real estate office. So I would work like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I would make $900 every 2 weeks. And I would make
after taxes. After
taxes, right. And then I would make $600 on average every 2 weeks at the country club. So I was making like, what is that, 1800s? It's like $3,000 a month as a 18-year-old.
19-year-old. You're crushing it.
And I mean, I was working so much though. That was the biggest thing was like when I would work at this country club, it was literally from, I would clock out at the real estate office at 4, I'd go to work there at 5 and I would work till 11. I'd wake up the next day and do it again. So that was a really big sacrifice that I made in my younger years because I didn't have the friend groups that everyone had, and I didn't have the like party invitations and the extra time to go and do the things that I would have loved to do. So I think that back to the conversation about college, I was thinking that going to a university was kind of my ticket to getting some of that freedom. And then again, by the time it came to that decision, I was a little bit more open to doing A+. Well, I had already done A+, because it's like 2 years in high school. But I had already had the access to the A+ program, and I had the opportunity to go to UMSL. So I did take that route. I still worked full-time, and I would do remote classes. So that was kind of newer at the time as well. I could work at the office and do my classwork, and then I could still work at the country club and go to community college.
Oh, so you were just like freaking...
I never stopped.
Yeah.
Ever. And there was a time I worked 3 jobs because I was babysitting in the morning, going to the office, and then going to the country club. So like when I was a teenager, like an early teenager, that's all I knew was to work.
Can I ask you a question? Do any of your friends ever make certain comments like, oh, you're so lucky you have a house or something like that?
Yeah, I mean...
Do they kind of like not underappreciate, but kind of like underscore all the work that you've put in, because basically what you've been telling me is that you've been grinding since you've been 18, coupled with the work ethic is there, but coupled with financial discipline. Anytime you could have gone bougie, you could have, gone to the casino, put it all on black, but you decided not to. You decided to stay consistent, disciplined financially, and working your ass off. So now you're afforded, I don't want to say like a luxury, but you're afforded a different path that most Americans, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to like diminish anybody, but most Americans aren't willing to do what you just said. Most Americans are not willing to go to school full time, work full time, make good money, and stay financially disciplined.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of those friends at the place I'm in right now, a lot of those friends and I lost contact. So I don't hear a lot of
for sure.
I don't hear a lot of feedback on like, oh, you're so lucky. I think that there's people that look at me and they're like, oh wow, like you did this, or like that's great. But I think a lot of my friends now have shifted to being older and, they're in their 30s, late 30s, and they're kind of doing the same thing that I'm doing. So the friend group that I had,
they're different friends.
They're different friends. And it's also just like a lot. I love my friends that are still my age and the people I went to high school with and the people I met in college, but we're just not on the same path. A lot of my friends from high school, they went to university and then it took them years to even move out of their parents' house. Like they had to go to university.
I got a friend who still lives with his mom.
Yeah, they moved back in with their parents.
A high school friend.
And granted, they get like great degrees. I have some friends that are going to school for nursing and they're doing really, really great things, but they're very, very behind, they're far behind me on the timeline that they did that.
Talking with you about it, it makes me think, right? I think two things can be possible at the same time. I think one, I do think that it's just like undeniably being a homeowner is just harder today than it has been in a long time, if ever. Okay. That's just like factually true. But I think what is also factually true is that the overwhelming amount of consumer debt leads me to believe that financial security and discipline is just like dead. That people live lives they can't afford.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that 1950s, 1960s, 1970s keeping up with the Joneses, where our previous generation was doing kind of something similar, right? But like they would do it with their neighbor.
Yeah.
Where we're now trying to do it with like everybody in the world because of social media.
Exactly.
And I think what it is it's kind of like a two-pronged assault. Like number one, like yes, everything that everybody's feeling, that constriction around the neck, like that is happening. However, I would say that the majority of the people that I know are not fiscally responsible.
I completely agree. And I think that was a big, like, I never had these luxuries of just going out and buying designer clothing or going out and spending my money on all of these things that I didn't need. Because I will say, like, my parents influenced me very heavily that, like, you live within your means. So when I applied
That's such a skill set.
It was.
That's such a skill set.
And again, I look back now and I'm so thankful for it. At the time, things were different when I was a kid, but now I look back, like when I applied for my first mortgage and I got pre-approved or whatever it took, I was 24. I had no debt. I had no car payment. I had money in my savings account. I had a good paying job with, proof of income for the last X amount of months that they needed. I was easily qualified for my house. And I was able to pretty much pick whatever I wanted. And still, even in that decision, the pre-approval that came back, I still chose to stay within my means. So the house that we live in, is it glamorous? Is it amazing? Is it huge? No, but it's something that we can afford. And it's something that is, it's something that we could easily do on one of our income if something were to ever happen.
You also own it.
And I own it. Yeah.
This notion of like recompense or this, what's happening is people are starting to like gaslight themselves or lie to themselves. And I'm seeing these like articles now that said like, homeownership, like it's not all that it's cracked out to be, and you get all this fee and that fee.
Sure.
I'm like, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life, because you have two options. You can either rent where you live or you can own where you live.
Yeah.
And owning where you live, yes, it's like a responsibility. Yes, it's expensive and all these other things. But every time you make that mortgage payment, you're actually paying yourself. Because when time comes to sell that home or to do anything with that home, or
you have equity.
Borrow against that home.
Exactly.
And what are the interest rates on an asset like a home? 4 to 6% with good credit, right?
Yeah.
What are the interest rates on a car with good credit? 6-7% right now. What are interest rates on no asset, just like a business loan?
Yeah.
An SBA loan from the government, lower rates, but like if you go to a commercial bank, 10%. What is the interest loan? What is the interest on like a personal loan? Let's say you're just trying to do debt consolidation. You're gonna be paying anywhere between 12 and 15%. Yeah. There's a story here. The more you move away from that loan being tied to a tangible asset, you're paying more and more percentages of interest. And what I'm trying to explain in this is, let's say you have a house and it took a down payment and all these other things. And maybe your home is worth $200,000 and you have $100,000 built in equity, meaning you still owe $100,000 to the bank, but that home value is $200,000 and something happens.
Yeah.
What that something is, who knows? But something happens and you need 50 grand today. You can go and refinance that mortgage.
Yeah.
And does it suck? Is it fun? No. But will you have a lower interest rate? Can you do it more easily and more effectively? And can you get that liquid cash faster than most means? Absolutely yes.
Yeah.
And that one thing there is like the best like example I can put for owning a home. The second best one is using equity to then leverage yourself and buy a second property.
Yeah. And I just think it's an educational piece. A lot of other, people that are my age, they think of owning a home is this big financial burden. And granted, it can be. I've been very fortunate that our house hasn't been a burden. Like, it's been very easy. We haven't had any issues. But there's a level of knowledge that it takes to understand equity. And there's a level of knowledge that it takes to understand that you can borrow against your house. And we don't have the financial literacy, I would say, in my age demographic. And we did not learn that growing up. So there were a lot of things that I am thankful that I had my parents there to support me and teach me, like, you can't just go spend money on a credit card and expect to, not have to pay it ever. You can't just max out your credit cards. Like, I learned those things, but you would be so surprised how many people, like 20, 25, 30, do not understand how to use credit.
It's not that I'm surprised at the number of people. Like, yes, I agree with you 100%. Financial literacy is the minority, not the majority.
Yeah.
What surprises me is you have a supercomputer. Like, all of us have a supercomputer.
Yeah.
We have our phone.
All the knowledge.
And now you can just chat GPT shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I said this with Jordan Dowdy, and I'll say it with you. It's like ignorance in this year is a choice.
Yeah.
Like, for you to go into something and not know the variables, that's a choice.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Previous generations, like, if you wanted to like do tax accounting, like your own taxes, let's say, it was pretty much impossible. Like, you would have to go get someone, or you may have to run the risk of like doing them incorrectly. Perhaps there's fraud, what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, dude, doing a W-2, you can literally do it like off an Excel spreadsheet, submit the forms, and like easy peasy. Like, the fact that anybody doesn't like, if you're, by the way, fun fact, if you're like a W-2 employee, and you're paying for like TurboTax or anything, like I think it's like $199 every time you do your taxes. If you just have a W-2, you can literally file your W-2 directly with like a .gov website for both state and federal and completely do your taxes just from your tax form.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Like, you don't even need to pay for that much. Like, it's so insane how easy it is to do certain financial things today.
Yeah.
But to bring it back, if you don't mind me asking,
Sure.
We were talking about financial literacy. And my question for you is, why do you think, or to what extent do you think that is the case? Like, why do you think that's not taught in school? Why do you think that financial literacy isn't taken as seriously as like certain other aspects of life?
I don't know if I have a direct answer as to why it's not taught in school. I mean, I know that we took finance classes, and honestly, walking away from those classes
in high school or college?
Yeah, in high school, and I mean in college as well. I had to take accounting and all these things for my business degree.
I feel like they were already outdated back then.
When
I was in high school, they were having us like balance a checkbook.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
And I was like, when the fuck am I gonna do this?
They're very outdated. They're balancing checkbooks. They're balancing sheets. Like, it's learning almost how your money operates in a bank.
When's the last time you wrote a check?
I write checks.
I do too, but for the businesses.
I write checks, not for businesses.
Oh, no shit. You write checks
I write
still?
checks.
In the year of our Lord 2025.
I do. Well, up until I bought my house, my apartment was only check, so I would always write checks. But then also we just got hit with a tariff, and UPS or USPS or whatever it was only accepts checks. So Jamie didn't have one, and it was actually his package. So just know I had to cover that.
When you say a tariff, you mean for like what, the flex spike year?
Yeah, he had a flex spike year.
He was bringing it overseas?
Yeah, he had a flex
That's why he should buy American.
I know. He had a flex spike year package. And you know what's funny is the UPS man was like, I was here yesterday and no one was here. And I was like, oh, I try to avoid the people. But we answered the door and I had to write the check for it, which I know how to write a check, thank God. But like, it is an outdated process. Back to your question, like financial literacy. I don't know why it's not taught in school. I don't know why it's not more in depth. I think that some of those classes where you can learn those things are optional, and I don't think that they should be optional.
Agreed.
Because I don't think it's something that someone's just going to pick to learn whenever you could do anything for credits on your I know I didn't, and I was at a significantly better place than my peers. I didn't choose.
Aw. Baby girl.
Okay.
She okay? Just
Hungry.
needs some milk.
She missed her last nap, so she's been
But I know that even where I was, I didn't
She
choose
just
to take those
got a
classes.
bottle and now she's chilling.
And
Sorry.
she's fine. Yeah.
We were talking about the literacy in finance and how it's optional when you believe it probably shouldn't be. I also, by the way, agree.
Yeah.
When you get a college degree, like you have to have like one semester of U.S. history. You have to have like one semester of some other bullshit like prerequisites. And this is like state mandated, federal mandated prerequisites to get an undergrad degree. I think you should have like 3 semesters of personal finance. And I would even go as far as to say that I think it's by design.
Yeah, and I just remember, like, now that you say personal finance, that really does throw me back to the classes that I had to take. And they were one of those classes that you just check the boxes, in my opinion. Like, I feel like I didn't actually take anything away from personal finance. I think that I did the work that was needed to get the grade to pass, and then I moved on. And I think a lot of people end up complaining about it, that they're like, oh, we weren't taught this in high school, or why didn't they teach us this? And I agree. I think it should be more emphasized, but I also think that, again, it's a selective opportunity that you could choose to do or not. Some people think that they should teach you how to change a tire and, do standard tasks in high school. I don't think that's a bad idea either, because a lot of people can't do it.
Call it adulting.
Yeah, exactly. Fix the
Adulting
sink.
101.
Something, I agree. But,
so it's interesting that while at the same time we're like a very much more technologically advanced society, are also just universally more useless.
I agree, and I think too, like, again, I grew up outside of the city, so I was in like smaller towns. I grew up outside of Eureka, and everyone that I knew, my dad included, my friends, my family, like everyone knew how to do everything. So I was very shocked when I started to meet people that didn't know how to fix a car, or didn't know how to fix a sink, or didn't know how to do this, because I grew up with someone that, like, if it was broken, we fixed it. And I feel like, again, a lot of men and women in this generation just do not know those life skills.
No, they'll just buy a new one.
Yeah, and
it's broken, we'll just get another one.
And that's kind of what I wasted my money on, if I did it all in high school, was I was a big, like, motorhead in terms of I had Jeeps, and I would build them, and then I would end up having fun with them, and I would sell them. But I loved working on cars, and that was my friend group. My friend groups and we would go out trailing, we would take our Jeeps out, and that was my hobby. And I'm glad that I have those skills, because now with the cars that I have, I know how to do an oil change. I know how to fix things if they need fixed. And it's just funny that a lot of people didn't grow up that way. I guess I just thought at that time everyone
There's like a group of people that drive Teslas that are like, bro, I don't gotta change my oil.
I have no idea. Don't bring me a Tesla. Yeah, I don't know anything about a Tesla.
We were talking about how you've been fortunate with the jobs that you've had in your life.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons why I brought you on today is actually the line of work that you're in today. And that is I know that you said that you were like technically in marketing, but there's emphasis in like what it is that you're doing in marketing.
Yeah.
Can we just start at a high level and then work our way a little bit more granular? So what is it that you do?
I'm our head of sales.
Okay.
So I sell marketing.
You sell marketing.
I sell the marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also, throughout the years of working in it, I have done like account management, and I've worked with our clients. So I've also done the client success side. I've done the account management side. But when
you say account management, what do you mean by that? Forgive me.
Essentially just working with clients directly, making sure that they're seeing the results that they're looking for.
So they're like, hey, I want to sell this product. I don't know how to sell this product. I'm going to outsource the marketing to Demi, who's then going to sell the product for me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so think of it like who I work with primarily is like home service. So let's say like a roofing company. If they are in a position where they need more leads, I would work with that roofing company to generate more traffic to their website, or to somewhere where they can get more calls or form submissions. So I work with them to get more leads. I do the sales process typically, right? So I would bring the client on, I would help them with onboarding, and then throughout the process, I just make sure that they're happy. Account management would be the side of more so working directly with that client on their account, so making changes to their marketing, doing different types of promotions, different types of strategies, and things like that.
Got you. So one's a little bit more let me come in and work on what's already been created. And another is like, let me create this for you.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And how long have you been in this line of work?
5 years. I've been in marketing.
And you're 26, so that's like the majority of your professional career.
As soon as I got out of college, I actually got a job. It was a strike of luck for me. It was a job at a local agency. I was making no money at all, but I applied to be an account executive. And the funny thing is I got out of college for business and marketing, and I just wanted to work at a marketing agency. So I applied for this account executive role, and I had no idea what that was. I literally did not know. I went to the interview, and the guy was like, do you know what you're applying for? And I was like, I think sales. And he's like, you're the only person that's come in here and got that right. And I was like, okay, great. And he's like, you got the job. So
that is I want to see everybody else's interview that day.
Yeah, I mean, I know I didn't do very well on that interview.
You did the best.
He asked me what books I read, and I know he meant like business books, and I'm pretty sure I said Stephen King. So I know.
I know it.
I know that I walked away not feeling super confident, but I did.
She said, motherfucker, you read? She's like, yeah, I do. All the Harry Potter books.
It was so embarrassing looking back now, but I remember that.
It's also like a very like douchey like question to ask on an interview.
Oh, he was.
Bitch, do you read? I'm like, yo, do you?
I will say this on the record.
Sorry, guy that did that interview. I'm sure you're a small individual.
Worst job I've ever had. He was. And
yeah,
I will say this. No, I'm saying I will say this on the record. It gave me the experience I needed to get comfortable in sales because I remember he was very adamant about me cold calling, and I went to in-person meetings.
That's so difficult.
And it was so scary because I would like break out in hives. Like I was terrified to cold call, but I got really good at it. And I would do in-person meetings where I was like 21 years old, and he'd be like, oh, okay, this person's interested. Yeah, like go to their office. And he would send me out alone. And I would just like go to people's offices. I'd go to people's houses. I'd meet them at coffee shops, like anything for a sale. But he was awful. And I think their company's down to like 2 employees now, which is hilarious.
Shout out that guy.
Yeah, because like all of the good employees left because we were just like, he was a micromanager, and he was very, very airheaded. He was like, I'm the best salesman of all time. And we're like, okay, sure you are. Like, why are you not selling anything then?
Wouldn't you agree that though that's kind of like a common trait to have among salespeople is exuberant confidence in oneself?
Not for me,
because you have to eat so much shit. Like as a salesperson, it's you're never going home empty, not empty-handed, not full. Like, you ate shit all day.
You have to have confidence to do it because I was such a bad I was such a bad cold caller. I'd be like, hey, it's Demi with so-and-so, and they'd be like,
we don't want none.
Yeah, they'd be like, not interested, and I'd be like, okay. Like, I had I was not able to combat anything. I had no conflict resolution at that point, but the people that talked to me liked me, and that was the biggest thing. And when I would go to meet them in person, it was totally different. I was like, I can do this. Like, I can talk to people. I can make people trust me. I can make people like me. But it had to be a product that I was confident in selling. Like, I found myself in situations sometimes where I've tried to sell something, or I've tried to get someone to sign up for something that I wasn't fully confident in, and that's where I kind of lose touch with everything, and that's why I left that agency. I moved on to something better, but it was a big learning experience.
I'm glad you brought up the face-to-face because I graduated with a degree in finance and a double major in accounting, and then since then I also left that field and worked in information systems. But now, while I'm having this conversation with you, I'm in the process of leaving that field and going to sales because I'm realizing 2 things. 1, I'm a douche and I have the skill set for sales. And 2, that's where the money's at.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
And by the way, good luck automating that shit. But one of the things that you brought up was that face-to-face. And I'll tell you right now that is where I personally find the most success. I will not call. All of my leads are connections of connections, and my whole strategy for trying to sell any product, whatever that product may be, is to use the network that I have to build on the network and to create a wider branch. I could not, if you gave me $1 million a year, I'd tell you to go suck my dick about cold calling. You're not doing that.
You're a closer, and that's what I am.
Okay.
I'm a closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a closer. You're not, and that's exactly the position I'm in now. So I'm very thankful for that. When I got the opportunity to work at the agency I'm working for, I made it very clear. I was like, if you're going to have me do sales, I will not cold call. I will not prospect.
Well, I just don't think that's an effective way to do sales.
I mean, someone has to do it, though.
Yeah, I disagree. I just don't think cold calling is effective at all.
I mean,
I don't think the ROI is there for that. I think you'd be better served instead of like throwing out this wide ass net and hoping to catch one fish, to be a little bit more selective, to be a little bit more calculated, to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that it depends on your team. Like, we have SDRs that can do some cold calling for us.
Can you say what SDRs are? Sorry
no, I was hoping you weren't going to say that because I don't know.
Sales.
Someone Google it.
SDR?
Yeah, say something. Can we Google it?
Anyway, we got SDRs. We got that shit on lock.
They're an SDR.
Yeah, we got that.
That's what they are. I don't know. I was actually hoping.
Sales, dial, retail. I'll keep saying buzzwords.
I was hoping when you said that you wouldn't ask.
She's like, shit. You've activated my trap card.
You were like, can you tell me? No, I can't.
SDR. Look it up. You guys are watching. You got Google.
We're going to find out later. I got to Google it.
I might edit it in.
Okay.
Feel like we're both retarded. Like, this is what it is.
We have like a sales team, right? So different levels. So those people would be the ones that are like, they're cold calling, but they're also reaching out to people that we've met.
Go ahead. What is SDR?
Yeah, what is it?
It's sales development representative.
Yeah, sales development
thank you.
representative.
That's our first day on the job.
Yay! Yeah, that wasn't in Stephen King. I didn't. That was.
You say you don't learn that in the Harry Potter book.
Oh my God! But they'll do some of the cold calling, but it's also like lead lists, right? So it could be someone that we got a lead list from an event, or it could be that we had a webinar and we have this list of people that we should be keeping in the pipeline. So I don't think it's totally worthless. I agree with you. I think that if you're soliciting like your purchasing list, and that's what I was doing in my first job, was just calling people.
Let me change, I guess, what it is that I'm saying. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's much more, and this is kind of what I wanted to get with like search engine optimization, like where we're going to lead the conversation.
Yeah.
I think that, cold calling was an ends to a means, like in previous generations.
Sure.
But I think if you're cold calling today, I think there are much more effective tools at finding leads, acquiring them, than there is to just like, all right, pick up the phone, start calling random business numbers?
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here?
And that
when you get random calls, what do you do?
I don't answer.
I hang up.
I don't even answer.
Oh, I answer because I'm an asshole. I'm like, hey, Ariane's like, they're like, oh, hey, have you thought about? No, I haven't. Can you please talk to me? And then I'll put the phone down and like just let them talk.
I can't because I have such a respect for where I was that I listen to them and then I'm like, you're doing so good, but I can't. And then I'm like, you're doing
so great. I am not interested.
You're doing a great job. I'm not gonna tell you to like fuck off, but like, I don't want to ruin your day. You're doing a really good job, but no, thank you. But back.
Hi, Demi. This is Condom Depot. Are you looking for a family package? And she's like looking at her daughter, like, "Where were you like a year ago?"
Yeah. I love you. Yeah, I agree. I think that it is an outdated practice when you're purchasing lead lists, but I do think that there could be an opportunity. My biggest thing is like if my company wanted me to get into more like lead acquisition and they're like, hey, Demi, we need you to get your own leads. I would be like, send me to events, put me on stages, put me on social media, put me on podcasts. That is how you get leads. And I will say, like, before I got pregnant, that is what I did. I would go speak on stages. I would go to events. I mean, ask Jamie, I was traveling all the time because I had the ability to. And then I got pregnant and then I was like, I kind of just want to stay home. And now we have Ruby. But
Jamie locked that down.
But I mean, I literally like, we were fine on lead flow. We were fine on people that were interested in our service. Like social media alone was how I got a lot of interest and how I built my portfolio and how people know who I am.
Would you, I'm going to make a comment and I'd like to see what you feel about it. I don't think that social media anymore is what it initially started at. What initially started as a technology to keep people connected as a form of social interaction, social media, is no longer what it is. I look at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I look at all of that as a B2C marketing campaign.
Completely agree.
And what I mean by B2C is business to consumer.
Completely agree.
Like whenever I look at Instagram, it's like half of them are sponsored posts, half of them are pushing some sort of product, and you're basically like acquiring a follower base to then market to. That's like basically everybody's goal on social media now.
But
is to be an influencer. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just it's not lost on me that like, I don't know if you're, this is going to kind of show my age, but I remember when like MySpace
I wasn't
first
on
came
MySpace.
out.
I knew you were going to say that. I wasn't on MySpace.
I miss Tom, Jamie. I miss Tom. All he wanted was to be our friend.
It was like
I wasn't.
He wasn't selling my b-hole pics online.
The song, I remember like you had to pick a song.
Dude,
like,
MySpace was so much better than Facebook.
Never experienced
way
this.
better,
You would go on someone's page.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back. Hold on, because
And you
MySpace,
feel like your best
we
friend
didn't
is
deserve
better.
MySpace, and what we did to MySpace did not deserve. You could go to someone's page, they could have like this themed out thing, and they had like a top 8, and you knew there was gonna be drama when like Chelsea was number 6, and now she's number 7, and Becky's number 6. Ooh, bitch. Debbie's like, what are you guys
I
talking
have no
about?
idea what you're talking
Everyone
about. I really
above like 30 is like, oh my god, that was my jam. And then we moved to Facebook. And now Zuckerberg is selling all my data to China. Anyway, MySpace, God bless. No, social media in its entirety has completely changed, and you would agree with me on this.
Yeah, I do. I think that why would we tell, again, like if we go back to a roofing client, why would we tell them to post on their business page? It's so that if someone looks them up, they're real, they're credible. If you're going to hire someone to fix your roof, you want to make sure you're not just hiring.
It's exclusively word of mouth for me.
Well, it could be, but I mean, think of the average consumer. Like if you're Googling and you're just saying like roof replacement near me and you don't know someone or you don't have those connections, you're going to do a little bit of research on who you're hiring. Like you don't want to just hire someone in a truck.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say though is like, what I will do, I'll give you a prime example. I have like, I'm developing bad far vision. It's something that I'm noticing. Like when I was driving, I was like, oh man, I can't read these signs, right?
Yeah.
So what do? I get on Facebook. I go, hey, my eyes are going bad. Link to me, the businesses, your friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Who your eye doctor is. And I got 10 posts.
Right.
They're all tagging their individual person. And then what did I do? I went to their pages and I'm looking at them, looking at their reviews and all that. But that's what I mean by like word of mouth. It doesn't necessarily mean like I was hanging out with Jamie and Jamie's like, oh, your eyes look bad.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. So what I was getting at with like what you were saying with the eye doctor and the roofer is like as important as it is for a business to have that, that's why you see all these entrepreneurs doing the same thing is because most of the time, 99% of the time, to get leads, we are in different groups. So if you have an audience, like I said, like home service, I'm in 50 different home service groups. If someone's in there posting, I need a new website. Who should you recommend? I'm going to comment on that post. And what are they going to do? They're going to click on my page and they're going to go back to my portfolio or my profile and they're going to see, oh, Demi's posting about websites. Demi's posting about SEO. Demi's posting about Google ads. She's reputable. Demi is friends with people that I'm friends with. That's the power of what it is now. And I think that there's some people that still use it for the social aspect. I know Jamie uses it for the social aspect. You know, he's
I'm
always
sure you
on
do,
there.
but out of curiosity, just fit like it's a pie chart, 1 to 100%. How much of social media at this point is to plug the gym, plug the businesses, versus you keeping in touch with friends?
I would say like 75%. The other 25% is pretty much.
So for those that couldn't hear, because he doesn't have a mic, sorry, he said 75% of like his like social media activity revolves around the gym and pushing the gym and flex fight gear and all these other things. I would say the exact. I don't even have a personal Instagram anymore. Like I use the podcast as like my personal, and I'm like that's kind of like my scapegoat. And then it also makes it nice because then I can just post whatever memes I want. No one can look me up. It's try it out, guys. It's awesome. But I guess what I'm agreeing with you is if that is inevitably what happens to social media, or I guess what has happened to social media, I've also seen people kind of disconnect as well because they are getting tired of being sold to. Do you mind briefly if we can talk about, is there such thing as like over marketing or over saturation in this, to the point where if we're not careful with how hard we're trying to sell product to people, we're going to ruin the platform?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a limit to it. I think that there is a benefit to what social media is in its initial use. But I also think that there's a lot of business coaches that are pushing to post every single day and you need to feed the algorithm and you need to do these things. So, I've seen success in what I do, which is I post very inconsistently and I post every now and then, especially since I've had Ruby. I hardly ever post about work anymore and I still see success with it. So I do like to have that personal aspect on my social media so that, yes, I may be connected to prospective clients, but they see that I'm a human. So yeah, I get what you're asking and I do think that there's a limit to it. Do I know what that limit is? No, not personally. I think that there's some people that overdo it and I think that there's some people that do it too little, but...
I think you're actually kind of hitting the nail on the head on what I personally appreciate as well. whenever I'm being sold anything, whenever I'm selling, I always think to myself, like, what would I want to hear?
Yeah.
What would work on me? If it would work on me, maybe it'll work on somebody else.
Sure.
It's kind of my metric or my litmus test. And you kind of said something earlier about how you post inconsistently.
Mm-hmm.
And that if someone were to look you up, they also see that human element.
Yeah.
And I think that variable is going to slowly but surely become the most, not necessarily like important, but the most effective of sales is like that human element. Because when everyone is being,
AI,
not just AI, but like every post on these people are sponsored.
Yeah.
So you start to think like, okay, I'm following this person because like they were this authentic, I don't know, fitfluencer.
Yeah.
And now they went from like every post is like their family and their workouts and all that to like, try this product, try that product, try this product.
Yeah.
They're just basically selling me first form shit the whole time over
Sure.
and over again. Then there's this other person who's like still that authentic, still kind of, they're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're still selling you product, but they're masking it better with that human element.
I agree.
think that is going to be the sweet science going forward.
I agree. And I think too, like, I mean, I've seen it because I've had my company come to me and say like, Demi, we want you posting 5 days a week. We want you posting reels about digital marketing. And I've had to tell them, my clients don't want to see that. My clients want to see that I went out this weekend and I had dinner with my boyfriend and my daughter. My clients want to see that I went to this
Baby
event.
daddy.
Yeah, yeah. My
He worked hard for that title.
Oh, yeah, right.
My baby daddy, yeah. My clients want to see that I'm out here living my life and that I'm a real person. And I have clients that canceled with me a year ago that still are my friends on Facebook and they still comment on how beautiful Ruby is or how happy they are to see me as a mother. And I love that.
Just because they're not your client today or they were and now they're not doesn't necessarily mean they can't be your client tomorrow.
And there's so many people, like my previous clients that are like, hey, it didn't work out with us with your agency, but if you ever go anywhere else, let me know. Like, I will move with you. Or if you do your own thing, I will come with you. I've had so many of my clients tell me that. And it's because, like, I like to connect with them on that human level. And that was the biggest thing, like, where I said, I don't think I'm a good salesperson. I think I'm a good people person. I'm a closer. I'm not the prospector. I'm not the person that wants to cold call. I'm not the person that wants to bombard you with emails and bother you all the time. I don't want you to tell me to F off. I just want to do something that I truly believe is going to make you or your business better, and I want you to trust me in doing that. And that has gotten me so far, and it's not something you can replicate. And it took me a long time to get that confidence and to be able to do that. But even like seeing how other people in my company sell, I do it so differently. And I'm not saying it's better. Everyone has their own
different strokes for different folks. Everyone
has their own style and what works for them. But mine is so different. And there's a reason why I can't just group myself as a head of sales or a salesperson. I'm the type of salesperson that sells someone and I work with them long term. I make sure that they're still happy. I check in with them. I make sure that the team's doing what we said the team was going to do. And that's just, I mean, it just is a value add. Like, I love to be that person.
You made a comment earlier that I believe is kind of oxymoronic because I don't believe it's true. You said that I'm not a salesperson, I'm a people person, but sales is people.
It's people, yeah.
So, like, obviously you are a salesperson then.
Yeah, I'm not a good salesperson is what I've said. Because I'm not the type of person that if you came to me with some kind of objection, I'm not a good objection handler. You could tell me, I got to go talk to my wife. Like, this was really good. Let me go talk to my wife. Or let me think on it. And I would say, okay, go think on it.
I think
go talk to your wife.
I think that's the perfect response.
It is, but in a sales training program, it's not. And you have to be able to answer that. And I think that there's a lot of times that you do miss closing those opportunities because you are so lax. And I completely I've seen that.
There's a difference between like being relaxed and letting an opportunity slip by and appreciating and respecting someone's boundaries.
I completely agree.
Because like if there's anything that turns me off faster, it's the guy that doesn't understand no means no.
Completely agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I can't tell you how many times like I might not necessarily get the deal when I want the deal. In fact, me and Jamie kind of knows this. Like I'm waiting on a deal to happen now, and unfortunately for me, it is on their fucking time.
Yeah.
And I have a whole team of people that are waiting to jump at the gun, and they're like biting at their nails because they want to get into it. And I have to tell everybody every week, hey, we didn't get shit this week, and we're probably not gonna get shit next week, and then there's gonna be the holiday, so we're probably not gonna get shit until January. So, and then everybody around me is like super impatient. They're like, well, is there an email we can send? Is there this we can do? Is there a that we can do? And I'm like, no. Can I do all these things? Yes, but I wouldn't want someone to do these things to me. He told me, we'll get back to you. And all my job now is feeler. Like I'll send emails like, hey, hope you're doing well. Holidays are coming up. I know that you were just traveling. I hope you had fun. Like the human element in this. And more importantly, to remind him that I'm still here, still alive. I'm not pressuring you. I still exist. Don't forget about me.
I agree.
And I'll get this. It might take longer than I want. It might not be in the month or 3 or 6. It might be in a year from now. But when I land it, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So who the fuck cares how long it took?
I agree. There's so many, I would say, like prospective clients that have left Google reviews with my name in them just to thank me for the experience that never signed with us. And they were just like, Demi did fantastic. She was super informative. She was super understanding. She gave us all of this detail. They never did work with us. Maybe will they come back to it? Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. And maybe they will come back. But my thing is if I was actually considering something, and I would say like medium ticket sales. I don't know. Our typical cost is like $5,000 a month. That might be considered higher ticket sales.
For what, marketing budget?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
It's like a high ticket sales job, right? So my quota is pretty high each month is what I'm trying to get. And whenever I'm coming,
You want to know what the minimum sponsor for some of these MMA shows are for one show?
What?
Anywhere between 8 and 10,000.
Oh yeah, and
to sponsor one show.
Yeah, I know.
So when you say 5,000 a month, I look at I'm like, that's not bad.
Management, like outside of ad spend, right? So if you're paying Google or whatever for ads, but like our management costs, we do a lot of work. But I also know, again, from where we live and the companies that we know, to a small business, $5,000 a month is not cheap. That's a salary.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a salary, and
$60,000 a year.
I don't want to sign someone on because they feel like I'm feeding them this, promising idea of what can happen to their business if they work with us. I want them to make sure that this is a realistic investment for their business. And if it's not going to work out for me long term anyway. So if they need to go talk to their spouse, if they need to take some time to sit on it, that is where I feel like I'm the best asset because I will give them that time.
Forgive me. You want to pull this a little closer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Perfect. I do want to ask, do you feel any pressure once you solidify a client to perform? Because marketing is one of these where there's a lot of positions in companies where, let's say you're like an entry-level IT ticket person. You're basically being hired to do like either quality assurance or handle like a help desk ticket format where you get tickets, answer tickets, get in tickets, answer tickets. And usually it's like, it's OpEx, not CapEx. So operating expenses is the money that I need to spend in order to operate my business.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring any dollars through the door. It's just like things that I have to do in order to keep the doors open. Where capital expenditure or CapEx is like the money that I spend to make more money. And the tough part about CapEx is for every dollar I spend, I want to see at least like 1.1, right? So like a delta of 10 cents, that's my profit for the money that I spent. Now, when you say like, let's say you bring in a client and it's like $5,000 a month, I'm sure you feel the second you sign them, there's almost kind of like this pressure on you now. Because they're paying you $5,000 a month. They need to see at least $5,001 a month in return, or else why is Demi here?
Yeah, so that's actually that's funny that you bring that up because that's something I've struggled with in my role a lot is once I bring on a client, it's not my job. And I have to trust my team to take care of that, which I do. I absolutely love my team. I have great people that work for me. But that letting go has been very hard, which is why I found myself in the predicament that I'm in. Like, yes, I am our head of sales. But whenever I talked earlier about how I've done some account management, it's because I tend to follow my accounts to make sure that they're performing well and that they are seeing the return on investment that we promised. Because in the initial sales process, I'm talking to them about if you spend $5,000 with us, here's what we think you're going to see. Here's what we anticipate your leads are going to be. Here's what we anticipate your revenue is going to be. I want to make sure that they're actually getting those results, or else they're going to come back to me and be like, Demi was a liar. And I don't have that in my conscience to be that type of person. So
well, you don't want to feel like a fraud either.
No, you don't. And you always want to sell something that you're confident in. And that, again, I think we touched on that too. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I would rather underpromise and overdeliver than do the opposite. So yeah, I honestly, when I took this role at the company that I'm with now, I was supposed to be more of a client success director, which is my title. It's just never changed. And when I got into the role, my boss at the time was like, wow, you're actually really good at sales. Can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But I was really hoping to get out of sales. And I just never did. I just kind of stayed in that role. I ended up moving to corporate.
What did you want to do out, like, instead of sales? What was like?
I wanted to do more customer service. Like, I wanted to do the client management. So making sure that they were hitting their goals and working with the clients directly. Because I feel like I do have a lot of value in retention and making sure that clients stay with us.
Yeah.
But that was just never really something.
That's a sweet science too.
Yeah. And you know what? And a lot of people will say, why do you want to do that? Like, you're so good at sales. The money's in sales. Like, stay there. But it's not about the money. To me, it's more about doing something that I love to do when I wake up every day and I'm passionate about. But I moved to corporate and I got the role as a head of sales there. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And I've been able to kind of like, mooch my way into working with our clients as well, which has been really great for me because it gives me that opportunity to make sure that they're happy and work alongside them for the first few months, but also still help the company in growth and development. So,
can we talk about search engine optimization, marketing in the year 2025, and some of the tools that you guys use in order to execute for your clients?
Sure.
I will present to you some anecdotal evidence that I personally have found that has been kind of annoying that it took me this long to kind of get to, but I'm glad that I kind of got to the promised land. And that is, oh man, fighters are not going to like this. I used to sponsor fighters because I wanted to, A, help the fighting community, and then also B, attract people to the podcast. It was like specifically Easy Talk is sponsoring you, not the other companies that I have, right? The return or the retention that I saw on the dollars that I would spend through sponsoring were next to nothing. I mean, abysmal. And I don't blame the fighters. I just don't think that. I think a fighter's job is train, be ready, make weight, show up on fight night and all these other things. And I just don't think that the majority of like local fighters understand the importance of really pushing the product of the people that are sponsoring you. Yeah. Unfortunately, and fighters can get angry at me all I want for saying this, it's basically a charity.
Sure.
Up until a certain point, up until they get to a certain level where more eyes are on them, you basically, which is fine. Like, there's something wrong with that too, because you're basically investing in fighters when they're cheaper versus when they're more expensive. So if you get in early, you're going to be there for a discount. Yeah. Instead of paying the premium once they've already made it. But I then, instead of spending that money on fighters, started spending money on Google ads and specifically YouTube and Spotify promotions. Yeah. And it is insane. Yeah. How much, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but you could basically like buy to play. Pay to win. And it's not necessarily pay to win, but it's just like being seen is the most difficult thing, because in a sea of similar products, what is there to differentiate you? And sometimes there's nothing that differentiates you.
Are you doing that for the podcast, you said?
Exclusively.
Okay.
So like, for instance, the trucking company doesn't necessarily need that. I don't necessarily need to market the trucking company because we have our leads. You're right. I am a good closer. Yeah. Like that's what I did really well. Negotiated the contracts. Yes. I have FaceTime with all the people, with Chinooks, Deerbergs. We're chilling. Yeah. The consultancy company, very similar. Like, everybody that I consult for, I know personally. Yeah. They deal with me exclusively. And even if I outsource some of that work, the people that I outsource to, they also know exclusively. So it's like, it's fantastic. The podcast is the one thing where it's like one to many. Yeah. Like, we have 1,900 something subscribers on YouTube. I might know 200 of them.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like, I can't. And by the way, I hope it grows. So like, there's no way I'm going to know all of them. And it's so easy to just promote and pay the money. And I'm talking about the dollar return on like $100 investment on, let's say, a video is literally like 1,000 to 1 what I paid for the fighter. And I hate to say that, but it's like the objective reality of there's multiple ways that I can spend my marketing dollars. And I found that the best way, bar none, not even a close second, is just to go straight to the outlets and buy Google ads, buy YouTube promotions, buy Spotify promotions. Just go to your outlet and pay for it.
You have a really,
I hate to say it that way, but it's the truth.
You have a really good opportunity to do that, because your market for something like Google ads or YouTube ads is not going to be as competitive. And also, your idea of success is getting more viewers on the podcast or getting more subscribers on YouTube and things like that. So you're not necessarily trying to have a conversion that's a sale or monetary.
Actually, can I tell you the variable? Yeah. The number one variable that leads to success? watched hours.
Yes.
I don't care about views.
And
I don't
Google
care
will
about
tell you that.
subscribers. Yeah.
Google will tell you that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, no, I can tell you, like, because I'm an analytics guy, and by the way, YouTube analytics, Google analytics.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No one does it better.
It's awesome.
You can export. It's amazing. They're analytic tools, and I'll sit there and I'll deep dive into them.
Right.
And I'll tell you this right now. In November, we've like tripled the viewed hours.
Yeah.
And it's specifically because I was like, you know what? Last month I was like, fuck it, let's just try it. You know what I mean? And the difference is substantial.
Yeah, and you can track.
It's a straight vertical lineup. It's insane.
You can track anything. You can see, again, who on your podcast was the best viewer. Like, I'm going to share this to my network. Let's see, what the comparison is between my podcast episode to other people's podcast episodes. You can see who the audience wants to see and who they want you to talk to. Like, it's super beneficial, and I think a lot of people don't use those tools. But again, you have a really, really great opportunity to be using those tools at a very low cost, because what you do is very visual. And typically those visual campaigns are not as expensive. Just like if you were to throw up a Facebook ads campaign for Easy Talk, you could do a 15-second clip, put up $10 a day.
I've legitimately thought about now putting a marketing budget on every video of $100.
But
and the return on that is amazing.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's like in not only return in views or the hours watched and things like that, but you can also start to track people that are watching it. You can get their email, you can get their phone number, you can see who the audience is.
I didn't know all that. Damn. I can get all that?
Yeah, you can get all of this information, and then you can start to create your own list.
I'm China now.
So that you could do like an email newsletter, right? Or you could do something. You could do anything that you wanted to.
You like those email newsletters?
I do, but I'm in marketing. I mean, I think that if you're not email marketing, you're missing an opportunity.
Really?
Yeah, because it just keeps you it keeps you front of mind. It's like, it's not that it's going to get
How many people just put you in their spam folder?
Well, I mean, possibly. And open rates are...
Forgive me, I'm not trying to sound obtuse.
No, you're not. Open rates are very, very low. I would never sell an email campaign to a client. I would never say, hey, pay me and I'll do your email campaign. Return on investment's probably going to be next to nothing. But every once in a while, every once in 3 months, 4 months, someone may see that email and be like, oh, shoot, I do remember that you have this podcast, or maybe you do merch in the future, or you do something else. And then, they come back and they become a paying client or something. So I do think that there is value in it, especially if you're e-commerce. If you're selling product on a website, you better be email marketing. That is where it's extremely valuable. Email newsletters for e-commerce is good. But yeah, I think search engine optimization is more organic. So that is not paying per like specific platforms. That is just working with Google to get like a website ranked or get your business ranked. What you're doing in terms of the paid side for Spotify,
it's 100%
YouTube.
the lazier option.
No, it's not lazy. It's just it's a shorter term play. SEO is a long-term play. That's something you're not going to see a return on for months and months.
Okay, then deep dive into that. You said it's a short-term play versus a long-term play. What's the difference between those? Like, why not just keep paying for it?
So there's a couple of reasons, and it depends on the business structure. I always say, like, Easy Talk might be a little bit different if you have an exit plan for your business. So, for example, if we talk about like a contractor and they own this business, they're looking to get a lot of leads, but they want to potentially exit the business or sell the business in the future.
Meaning they want to be acquired, yeah.
Anyone can turn on Google Ads. Anyone. You could sell the business and turn on Google Ads and get leads, or you could not. If you've been doing SEO for 3-4 years and you're ranking number 1 at the top of Google organically, that position makes your business so much more valuable. Also, there's still a demographic of people that scroll past sponsored posts and they don't trust them because, it used to be like...
It says sponsored. I'm like, I'm out.
Well, if you used to get it, like, it used to be like spam or you get like malware, like way, way back. I'm not that old, like that young. I remember...
I'm not clicking this random link on this random website.
I remember that links used to be sketchy, and there still are, but like some people just don't trust them. So the organic result... It's just more authoritative for your business. It makes you more credible. But also, I think one of the biggest reasons that people don't think about is if you want to sell your business, it adds so much value. Because if you're ranking number 1, you're 10 times better than anyone else.
What would you recommend for me then? This is kind of turning into like a consultant
podcast.
Sorry. What would you recommend for me then? I'm not really looking to grow. Like, the goal of this podcast has always been to, like, it's fun for me. So like the day that it's no longer fun for me, my mentality was like, okay, when this starts feeling like work, I'm just gonna stop doing it. Yeah. Right. And I don't necessarily think that an acquisition of this exists because I am the product, right? Yeah. Like me as the host. Podcasts are so easily duplicated. Like, you could try to, unless you're Joe Rogan, and even then, you're not selling the podcast. You probably sell the rights to the podcast, but then Joe would still have to do the podcast because that's the value of that podcast, right?
Right.
So for me, the goal has been like unfettered, natural growth.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to expand this past the St. Louis market as much as I can, because then that might be the goal of this podcast is then to like amplify the guests. Like hopefully the podcast can get to the point where if you're a part of this podcast, it might help your gym or your e-commerce shop or whatever it is that you do for work. Like that's what I want for this podcast. Is for people to want to be on it to then help themselves.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest opportunities that you would have for the podcast would be, again, you're doing some visual campaigns, but there is a specific Google Ads campaign called Performance Max. And with Performance Max, you can do short form video. You can be displayed across various different Google networks. So you could be on YouTube, you could be on Gmail, like any of those places where like little video ads would pop up, your ad would pop up, and you could do small clips of the podcast. The thing is, though, is you would have to have some kind of call to action to make sure that it actually makes sense for what you're paying. So call to action could be directing them, again, to the YouTube channel. It could be directing them to a website, but it also could be directing them to an email newsletter, which I think you should have an email newsletter, but who am I? Email newsletter.
How would I acquire an email? How would I acquire the emails? That's you know what? Forgive me. That's a conversation to have off the record, like when we're not recording. Sorry, but maybe I need to throw you a check.
The moral of the long story is like your most value is going to be collecting some information on the audience. So name, email, potentially phone number, so that in the future, if you do something different where you do want to connect with people to be on the podcast, or you do sell merchandise, you can actually market to that audience, but also you could have the opportunity to build a community, which would be really cool, like a Facebook community or a paid community where people could gain interest in the podcast, gain interest in the guests that are on the podcast, and then you could have them pay $5 a month to be a member of this community, and you have a community of like-minded professionals that are sharing information
Let me
or
add
whatever.
another variable to this.
Yeah.
What if I told you profitability on this has never been a thing? Like, I don't really care. Like, the goal for this is
exposure.
Yeah. So like, I've heard that if you offer something for free, you're basically saying that it's valueless, and I do believe in that. Like the majority of the free things in this world aren't necessarily like the most value. Yeah. But then how do you couple that with like, okay, well, I'm not really necessarily interested in the money. Would you say like just any old paywall is a good thing to have? Like maybe, I mean, I don't want to sound like a douche here, but like $5 doesn't seem like a lot a month, right? Yeah. But it can easily tally up if people are like subscribed to like 13 different things at $5 a month. Yeah. And now you're spending $60-$70 a month on just random Patreons or whatever. Because like I've had people like tell me like you should do, you can do like subscriber only videos on YouTube and you can do this or that. And I'm like, yeah, but then the second I implement some sort of like monetary hurdle, that will stifle growth. Yeah. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a paid model. I mean, there's a ton of different campaigns that you could do just for branding and just for exposure. There's engagement campaigns that you could do just to get more, subscribers to the podcast and more eyes on the podcast. But I do think that it's important to think of other opportunities, because the biggest thing that you want to do is you want people to watch you because you are an authority. And I think that sometimes, again, you do add value, or maybe you devalue yourself if you're not offering some kind of paid opportunity. Even you mentioned Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan has a ton of different sponsorships and a ton of things he does that makes his podcast profitable. So I don't think it's bad that you want to do this for free and not see a profit from it. Again, there's absolutely ways that you could do that. You could put $10 in a day and get more views and get more people engaged. But I do think that there's an opportunity for a paid model. And that's just how I'm wired to think too.
No, so. I'm not disagreeing. Yeah. The other thing I would ask is, up until now, the data from my viewership was always macro. So when I was talking about the analytics, it was like I would look at things of like, age brackets, gender, subscriber to non-subscriber. Yeah. I would even go into the individual videos and see like, okay, what spiked in terms of interest? And then I would go in there like, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about the 50-year mortgage. You know what I mean? At the Zach and Pack episode that we just did, like, it's funny how it's just like a peak at that specific moment. It's when we were talking about the 50-year mortgage. So I was just like, okay, so that's obviously like top of mind. It's relevant, right? Would you say that search engine optimization, this is going to sound cliche, but like, do you believe this to be the future?
I don't.
Of marketing?
I don't I mean, yes, I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think it's dead. I think that a lot of people assume that with AI and AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini, that AI is dying off and that there's going to be other things that, supplement for that. I do think it's something that's going to be long-term for a while, but knowing that it's a very aggressive service, and whether or not you have $50,000 to spend on SEO and you're in a competitive market, there's only 10 people that can go on the front of Google, right? You can't just pay your way to be there.
That's fair.
So you could be willing to invest X amount or however much you want to. There's only going to be that top 3 positioning. So I do think it's the future. I think it's the present. I think it's something that people should continue to invest in. I do think that there's other factors with AI being involved. Obviously, now we can use SEO tactics to rank you on ChatGPT, to rank you on Gemini. And it's just a big thing of adapting with the times. And if you're not adapting with those times, then you're falling behind.
Agreed.
And a lot of marketing agencies are going to fall behind.
When you say that, is it because they are not growing adequately with the change of technology and society? Like when you say like a lot of marketing agencies are going to fall behind, can you be a little bit more specific as to why?
I would just say that you have to have the team and you have to have the knowledge to be able to keep up with those changes. And if you're not doing that, then it's going to go past you. So the thing is like if you're using old techniques in terms of like blog posting, which is still relevant, or like backlinking, and you're just focused on that and you're not updating what you're doing for your clients, it's obviously it's gonna go right past you. Other things are gonna take over. You're gonna lose rankings for your clients. So I think it's just having the knowledge and again having the team to be able to adjust to those changes. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of huge marketing agencies out there, at least that work with small to medium-sized businesses. So most of these local-sized agencies it just kind of falls behind.
Fade away.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what do you believe to be the most important variable and the least important variable in terms of marketing today?
Yeah, I mean,
or what was maybe important 5 years ago and has just fallen off a cliff today? Like, okay, it's been literally 10 years since I've had cable television.
Yeah.
So like if you're paying for like an advert on like cable television, you have not marketed to me in the last decade.
The most valuable ones I would say would be having a good quality website is always going to be number 1. And then SEO is number 2. I mean, SEO is probably number 1, but you have to have a good website to have good SEO. The one that's fallen off, I would say, would be honestly Google pay-per-click. And that's your sponsored post on Google. It's not the Google guaranteed. So you can see like Google guaranteed, Google sponsored post. Google pay-per-click has become so increasingly expensive that
because it's so rampant, because so many people are pumping money into it.
So expensive. I mean, like almost unattainable for most of my clients. And we do whenever I'm doing
the amount of money that they would have to spend to get on that first page.
Yes, and just
with more and more people doing AI search instead of like Google search, it just becomes less and less reliable.
I mean, I don't know if it's less reliable, but I just think it's like it's not looked at. Like no one's really caring about that.
I scroll down.
Everyone does.
I scroll down.
But there's people
sponsored. All right, first real one.
I shouldn't say everyone does because a lot of my clients get really good results from PPC and the pay-per-click, or PPC pay-per-click. But I would say that Google pay-per-click is becoming so expensive and so competitive that it makes it very, very hard for the average small to middle, like medium-sized business owner to market that way. And we try to be,
You're fine.
We try to be very transparent with like a budget recommendation, especially since I'm the one that's developing these strategies for our clients before I bring them on. And I mean, it is very rare for me anymore to see less than $5,000 a month that my clients would have to spend just on Google. Just on Google, not our management cost, not paying for us to do the service.
Travel and expenses, anything else.
Just on Google. I mean, especially like I said, roofing contracting, your average cost per click is anywhere from $40 to $90 a click. And that is just a click. That is not a form. That's not a phone call. That is just someone clicking on that ad to go to your website. And then you have to look at, okay, what's the percentage of these clicks that actually turn into clients? And it's like 8 or 9%. So you're paying $1,000 for a lead. Hopefully that lead sells and then it's profitable. And then you're like, oh yeah, I just did a $15,000 roof. Like that made sense. But you have to put a lot in to see that return on investment. So yeah, I think pay-per-click is, I don't know if it's falling off. I think that it's getting more selective in terms of who can use it. but SEO and, Meta ads is doing really good too. I think that Meta is becoming more common because people like so much short form video and so much visual.
Well, I think they're understanding the value of short form content and having I don't want to say like a metaverse, but honestly having this cross platform homogenization where like Facebook speaks to Instagram, Instagram speaks to Threads, even though no one uses Threads.
Correct.
So on and so forth.
Correct.
And by the way, it has now been it's public knowledge now that all of these companies do interact with one another. So AWS, Amazon Warehouse Studios will work with Apple, will work with Google, will work with Facebook, will work with all these companies, and they all work together to basically acquire a bunch of data to then, I don't think, here's the problem though. The comment of like, they're always listening to us so they know what I want is like a double-edged sword. It's like on one side, it's a little invasive. Yeah. Right? Like if I say like baby formula, now when I open up Facebook and I scroll, it's like baby formula. You want that? You know what I mean? But on the flip side, it's very effective marketing. I mean, like I do buy shit now. Like I'll be scrolling like, oh, that looks cool. Right. Didn't even know I wanted this product, but the algorithm worked.
I don't know if it still goes back to this, but I know, again, my first job out of college when we would talk about this was like, there's actually nothing in writing there's no statement that says that Facebook or Google or anything listens to you. And I don't know. Is there a
100%.
Is there a statement though?
It is 100%. Yeah, it's literally in your settings on your app.
Okay, so
you could turn on and off the microphone.
We used to
on each individual apps.
I didn't know, and I haven't followed.
Want me to show you?
No, it's okay. I mean, I believe you. But what I'm saying
I have
is
them all turned on.
I remember we used to have this conversation. We're like, God, that's so weird. But I don't think there was like a written statement at that time. And granted, this is like 4 or 5 years ago.
Forgive me. Is she sleeping? Okay, well, let's not be as loud then.
But like. It goes back to how are you shopping for something on Nordstrom? You're looking at a Christmas present for your wife. You're looking at a pair of shoes. And then you go to Facebook and there are those shoes on Facebook, right? It's retargeting, remarketing, and they're using your email. They're using your cookies. They're using your, like the cookies, I guess, are kind of.
Don't touch my cookies.
Yeah, it kind of sounded weird, didn't it? But
they're using my cookies.
They're like, you accept all cookies or whatever. But they use how you're navigating your like specific websites, and they use how you're looking through things to retarget and remarket you. And I do think that Meta, in terms of Facebook and Instagram, can be a really good platform for this. It's kind of like scary that they follow you around, but then you talk to a client and they're like, I want that, because of course you do. Like, of course you want to keep.
They know you better than you think.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's a good question in terms of what stays and what goes. I think there's waves for ad campaigns. Obviously, organic's always going to be top, but I do think that it's going to be changing and evolving over the next few years with the introduction of AI and the advancements of AI.
You were speaking earlier about how before having a baby, there was like a lot of travel that you were doing for work, and then after the baby, that travel, just basically went away, like no longer doing it. So before I ask you some of the questions about motherhood and, obviously raising another child, is how has that affected work? Like all this travel that was important for work, right? FaceTime and all these other things. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have it. How does that affecting you?
Yeah, so I would travel all the time. I mean, I was constantly going to different events, as well as different like mastermind groups was a big thing that I was a part of. So other communities of like-minded business owners and salespeople. So I was very blessed to do a lot of networking for my job, and that again helped me open doors. It helped me introduce myself to people and put my name out there. Another big part of that was like speaking opportunities, so I could actually get up and be the authority in marketing and teach people about marketing. I loved doing that, and it really helped with my sales career. But I think moving into it was like a different division at the same time that I got pregnant. We were kind of transitioning into new ownership, new leadership. So some of the events and things had slowed down. I went to a couple events when I was pregnant. I went to an event called like RoofCon, which is a big roofing convention that I went to every single year. And then, the travel just kind of stopped. And I do feel like that was very stagnant in my sales growth. especially when I went on.
Meaning not traveling.
Yes.
Created a stagnation in your growth in sales. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it did affect you.
I saw a huge, huge difference. And it wasn't necessarily that the like lead volume wasn't there. It was just the new connections and continuing to grow my pipeline. It was like I had a lot of people in the pipeline that I had met and that I was talking to, but continuing building that pipeline, which is obviously crucial so that you don't have those down months and up months. So throughout my pregnancy, when I got especially into the later months, I wasn't traveling at all. And then when I went on maternity leave and I came back to work, that was when I really saw like, oh my gosh, I have to do this all over again. You know, like I have to get back on personal branding myself and posting on social media and going back to events, which obviously is now very difficult as well with her being 6 months old and I'm nursing and I'm staying with her full time. So it did have an impact, I think, both professionally and then also mentally. Like it was just something like my career is a very big part of my identity and who I am. So I think that that is something I'm going to have to ease back into. But in terms of actual results from doing those events, it absolutely had an impact on my work and what I was doing.
How difficult is that for you to juggle as a, I don't mean to sound super sexist when I say this. I find that as a man, it is just so easy for me to pursue my career and my entrepreneurial spirit because it is a foregone conclusion that as a man, I will set out and conquer.
Yeah.
Like that is a part of my job, right? As a man. But I find that for women, that is not a luxury that you guys have. Like I'll tell you this right now from my wife, there are moments where like I'm in awe of her.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, holy shit, dude, you're putting in 60-hour weeks at the office too. And you're also crushing it with Adriana, our daughter. And like, she was also nursing when she was little. I mean, I think she was breastfed until I want to say like 9 months or close to a year, right? It's like the first year of her life. Going to work full time and all these other things. I thought to myself, like, Jesus Christ, like I am afforded the luxury of like, hey, I can't come home because I have to go to this dinner with this client or whatever. And it's like, all right, babe, like do your thing. And I know that for my wife, she is a very successful woman, like professionally driven. She's an engineer, a manager, all these other things. And she worked hard to get to that. And I know that she finds enjoyment and fulfillment in that. However, I know that she also finds an immense amount of fulfillment and enjoyment from being a mother. Yeah. I would say that, like, you know, if any of us were to choose like which title we like hold to the highest esteem, obviously being a parent is number one. Yeah. But I do stand behind, I don't think that it can be the only thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that to touch on what you had said, when I made the decision to keep our daughter home with me while I work, because I do work remote.
God bless, by the way, girl.
God bless. When I made that decision, I did not think it was going to be as hard as it was. Yeah. And you don't know, especially going from 0 to 1 child, you just don't know what to expect. And I had all of these goals for myself that I was going to keep her home with me. I was going to work full time. I was going to nurse and breastfeed until she was 1 year old, which is, she's about to be 7 months old. And that's kind of something that I'm wondering if it's worth taking off of my plate because there is so much on my plate. But I think
breastfeeding or
breastfeeding and like pumping and everything, because now she's on solids, which it's hard for me to even find time to give her solids because I'm taking care of her all day. I'm working and then I'm also breastfeeding and pumping. So something's got to give. And I'm fully aware of that. But I also think that you don't have the luxury to continue to pursue your career in the same way. I think that you can make those choices to do that. But I do.
When you say that, do you mean that as a woman or a man?
As a woman. Yeah. Because you're the default parent. No offense. You are the default parent.
I mean, agree.
Yeah, it's like if Ruby's sick or she has a doctor's appointment,
call my wife. My wife.
I'm taking off work.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm the person that takes off work to do that. If, you know, Jamie works very, very long days, so thankfully he can be home with me on Mondays and Tuesdays, and he's altered his schedule to do that.
To accommodate for this.
Yeah, but I'm still home, you know, so it's one of those things that it's like I'm still really never off because I see my daughter and I love my daughter. I want to get the chance to rock her to sleep, even if it's a Monday or a Tuesday and I have the time. So, you know, you make those choices, but I also think it's as simple as, you know, Jamie coming home from work and getting the opportunity to go to the bathroom and take a shower and get his stuff ready for the next day. It's like, I don't get that, you know, and I have no feelings towards that. It's just kind of the dynamic that we have. It's like, if I'm taking a shower, she's in the bathroom with me or she's in the shower with me. If I'm cooking dinner so that we can have that ready when he gets home, she's in the kitchen with me.
Bruno was gone for like 2 weeks for like a trip for work. And I was like a single dad for that 2 week.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, brother, I have no fucking idea how single parents do it. I to your point about like something's got to give, like I could execute being a single dad exclusively if I only had a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
If I only had a 9 to 5, this podcast gone, businesses gone, everything gone. There's not enough hours, or I have to outsource parenting.
Yeah.
And there's no one I trust other than my wife and my blood to take care of my daughter.
That's
my prerogative.
And that's the predicament that I'm in.
My toxic masculinity is that I don't believe in daycare.
I don't either.
Yeah, no, we're the same way.
Yeah, I don't want to send her to daycare. So that's a very important part. Also,
Sorry to all the daycare workers. I'm sure you're great. Not my daughter.
Yeah, and if you have to make that decision, I completely understand.
I fully understand that is a luxury afforded to me, and I'm not trying to knock on anybody. I understand that different strokes for different folks. So like, forgive me. Like I'm just saying where I stand. I'm not trying to yuck anybody else's yum.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that for everyone, they can make their individual decisions. Sometimes daycare is not a choice, just like breastfeeding is not a choice. I'm sure a lot of mothers want to do it, and some others can't do it. But in the same token, I do feel like I'm working 3 full-time jobs. You know, I am working full-time. I'm very dedicated to my career. I'm dedicated to raising my daughter. And then again, the nursing and the pumping on top of it is a full-time job. I do that for 3 to 4 hours a day. Like we were just calculating that today. And it's exhausting.
My wife would get so mad at me when she would pump.
It's exhausting.
Because I'd be in the kitchen, I'd be like, she's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's absolutely exhausting. It's very stressful, and it's just something else that, you know, like you're not out of postpartum, they say, until you stop nursing and pumping. Once you do that, you have another hormone drop, and then you have to deal with that. It's a phase of your life that's ending. Like your kid doesn't need you anymore. You know, like you're moving on to different things. So not
I understand
need
what you're
you. You know what I mean? But it's just, I think that you go through a lot of things as a woman, but also
I'm sure the intimacy between you and your daughter, especially during breastfeeding, is something that men will just never understand.
No. And that's the thing too, is like Jamie could be with her full time for a full day. He would never know the extent of the exhaustion that I have because he doesn't have to juggle pumping and juggle feeding her and juggle,
we as men, we give you like the occasional reprieve. That is like, but if you told me like I had to switch roles with my wife, dude, not just that. Let's talk about it. Like all I did was deliver a package. She had to fucking carry that thing for 9 months. I saw her pumping that thing out. I was like, Jesus. And you know what? God bless her. She wants to have more. I was like, I saw what you went through. The fact that you want to do this again, thank you.
So weird though, because you're doing it and you're like, this sucks, but I can't never do this again. Like I have to do it one more time.
You want more kids?
I do, but
Don't.
no,
Go back on this.
No, I do want more.
She said she wanted 5 kids.
I do.
5?
Hold on. Can I say? Hold on.
Hey, my girl.
No. Let me say what I said with 5. I said I would.
There goes that career.
I would gladly. Yes, I did.
That's a stay-at-home mom.
I said if you start making $1 to $2 million a year, I will have 5 kids and I will stay home and I will get a Sprinter van and I will take care of them.
1 to 2 million. That's overkill.
Yeah, no, I know. That's the point. I want to be.
I
know.
like,
that's. I made it very.
$500K in St. Louis, Rust Belt, you're good.
I made it very clear. I was like, we got to make plenty of money for every child to go to college and have everything that they ever need. If you make 1 to 2 mil, I'll have all these
I've been
kids.
reading a lot of Harry Potter books.
I'm never gonna live this down.
Yeah. Me and my wife had the same conversation, and our goal now is as many as we can. Like at this point, the problem is she would throw it all away and be a stay-at-home mom. We've had that discussion, but you need to it needs to warrant that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like 1 kid is just not enough.
No.
Maybe not even 2. Like she was like, we would have to have like 3 kids, and then I hate to say it this way. I want to say this with like sincerity. You're destroying her career for the future as well.
Yeah.
Because she's going to be a stay-at-home mom for the next 10 years? I mean, let's say we have 3 more kids, right? And like after 2 years, we have another kid. After 2 years, we have another kid. So she'll be a stay-at-home mom for like 10 years. And then we've already talked about how like there's a changing landscape in marketing. Well, there's a changing landscape in every industry. In the next 5 years, because of AI, because of technology, everything is going to change. Everything's going to look different. So like if you're out of the market, the labor market, for a decade, I hate to say it,
You're coming back.
You're not coming back to that same role that you left. You know what I mean? He said, Jamie just basically said that whatever she wants to do, he supports, and if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom and he makes $2 million, great. And if he doesn't and she keeps working, great. Which I think is the only way to do it. Can I ask, I've talked to a lot of men about like fatherhood and all these other things. What is it that you as a woman look to your partner, or like if you don't want to tie it specifically to Jamie, but like the antithesis of like the man's role in all of this? Like what is that for you as a woman?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I have
what's your archetype?
Yeah, I mean, there is a part of me that really, I really do believe in traditional gender roles. I think that that's just part of like what I've seen around me and what I've seen growing up.
So the only relationships I've seen be successful are gender roles that are like,
well, and
your traditional ones.
And what I mean by traditional gender roles, it doesn't have to be 100% monetary. It doesn't have to be something that like you are head of the house and you're taking care of everything and there's nothing on my plate. It is more so just that I expect my partner to be someone that leads me. And I feel like myself, I'm very independent. I am a very hard person to get along with because I am so independent, and I've done so much for myself that I'm very proud of, but I know that I can do it by myself. And I think that the biggest thing for me with a partner is I need someone that makes me feel like I can't do it by myself, and I wouldn't want to do it by myself. So when I say like traditional roles, I just mean like I want to be able to take care of my daughter, go to work, succeed in my career, and then at home, turn that off. And I can relax, and I don't have to take care of every little detail, and I don't have to have every plan for everything. I think it's important for my partner to be able to make up for some of those things that I'm doing on a daily basis and take some of the load off of me in that way. Oh,
she's being cute.
Yeah, she's talking. But that's the
Is
biggest
mommy
thing.
talking?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
It's a very well-behaved baby, especially considering she's teething.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I ask because I've talked to a plethora of men now ad nauseum, essentially about like manhood, fatherhood, and all these other things. And I want to say that for the men that I hold in higher regard, usually it's a uniform answer. But it's interesting to me to hear from the perspective of a woman, because in previous generations, it was more of the monetary. Like you had, I want to say like in the 1950s, 1940s, 1960s, predominantly the man exclusively worked. The woman stayed at home. They say that it takes a woman to make a house a home, right? And I think there is a lot of wisdom to that. However, because of like our economic precarity in today's day and age, that has become a fleeting luxury.
Absolutely.
Where two incomes now have become, I want to say, like the norm.
Absolutely.
I only know one person that makes like under six figures where he works exclusively and the woman doesn't work, and it's a struggle. Like they are a team. When I say a struggle, I don't mean like on the relationship. I mean it's a struggle like every day is work. Like
and it's a sacrifice. You're making so many sacrifices.
100%, because there's no room in that budget for failure.
Yeah.
How much it kind of works both ways. On one hand, having a daughter, I'm sure, has fueled you, because now you see the importance of your career and your earning potential, because it's no longer just your mouth you're feeding, or the opportunities and things that you want to do. Now it's like, okay, well, how can we set her up for college? How can we set her up for X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on the flip side, the more you delve into motherhood, or honestly, even just parenthood in general, you start to develop this, what I believe to be a realization, and that is none of this shit is as important as our main job, and that's rearing the next generation.
Yeah.
I do believe that as a father and a mother, our main job is creating children that can function in society, and more importantly, function after we're gone.
Yeah.
But it's like this catch-22 where it's like, okay, but in order for me to do that, I need to provide for you. So like I have to rear you, but I also have to provide for you.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird Venn diagram, or this pie chart actually is a better way to describe it, of like, how do I better allocate my time? We were talking earlier about you traveled before being a mother. You traveled a lot for work. It expanded your horizons, allowed for professional development. When you were pregnant, that started to slow down. After the baby, probably at a halt, because she is staying with you.
Yeah.
I want to be careful the words I use, because I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to make any sort of negative connotation, but I am trying to emphasize the sacrifice that has been made, right? A good sacrifice, but a sacrifice nonetheless.
Yeah.
What is your thought on all this? Like, how are you tackling your professional development coupled with your relationship with your baby daddy, coupled with rearing of a child now? This is probably the most stressful time of your life, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, when I was pregnant, I had this idea of what everything was going to be, and everything was so different, right? Like I
What was
mean,
the idea?
The idea, I just thought that she is this perfect baby, but I just thought, oh,
She's pretty cool.
This is going to be great. She's like, everyone's like, you'll be fine with her at home until she starts crawling. And I was just like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like, she'll sleep all day. She'll be content. I'll feed her bottles. And it was like, when I started gearing up to go back to work at 3 months postpartum, I immediately had to focus on getting her into a routine, so that, because my job is very heavily like meeting focused. So it was like, she has to nap, and I have to be able to schedule my meetings around her naps or around her playtime or so on. So I did have this idea that everything was just going to be so perfect, and obviously that slapped me in the face. And I think that everyone's a better parent before they are actually a parent. You think that all these things are going to happen, but now my biggest priority is I need to be in a position where I can still cater to her, because being a mom is probably first to me now, and especially with how much I love her and how smart she is and how great she is at working with me and just being involved with me. Like I just dedicate so much of my time to teaching her things and working with her and playing with her. Like, that's the highlight of my day.
I wish we could flip that camera over.
I know, she's awesome.
She's being very cute with Jamie right now. She's playing on his lap.
She's awesome. But like, that is a big priority for me. But then also, I'm not ashamed to say, like, I want to make more money. I want to make more money
Fuck yeah.
for her. I want to do bigger things. And I also, with that being said, not only money, I want to show her that there's good things that come from working hard and being a woman and doing whatever you want to do. I'm in a heavily male-dominated field. I don't think that there's...
Sales? Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think that
it's a boys' club.
And I don't think that there's many women that, there's a lot of really great women in sales, and I'm not saying that, but I do think that there's a big amount that also have tried it and just haven't seen it through, because it's very hard, and you talk to a lot of different people, and it's competitive.
In our sales team, it's 8 guys, 1 girl.
Yeah, and
she crushes it.
Oh,
she crushes it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
but it's 8 guys and 1 girl.
But I want her to look at her mom and be like, you know what, my mom was there for me, my mom was present, but my mom was also very hardworking, and my mom did everything that she could do to give me the future that I have. And whereas, like, again, I'm very thankful for how I was raised and all the things that I learned, I was not handed anything. I mean, I was not handed money for a car. I was not handed, money to go shopping with my friends. I wasn't given anything. I worked for what I had.
Okay, on that flip of the coin, then, you're working so hard to earn more and all these other things, to then what end? Because you're acknowledging the value of having to fend and provide for yourself, even at an early age.
Yeah. Yet
you're sitting here having this emphasis on the providing of your child. Surely we can all acknowledge that a little bit of struggle is good for all of us.
I do agree, but I think that, do I say this on the podcast? Because I'm like, what if she watches this in like 18 years and she finds out?
I hope.
Because she's not supposed to know our plan.
In her neural chip, she's going to...
Yeah, she's not supposed to know our plan. But
archive back on PC days.
I think that my biggest accomplishment would be to be able to have money set aside for her that she doesn't know about, and that she is learning the value of money and she is working. And then once she gets to that phase in her life where she chooses if she wants to go to college or she wants to start a career or she wants to buy a house, I have that backing to support her, and I can say, hey, I'm proud of you. You've worked hard. You've done this, this, and this. Here's something to help you move forward, because who knows what the climate of, the world's going to be like whenever she gets to that age. And if it's already hard for us now, I can only imagine it's going to be much harder for her when she gets into that age group and she wants to buy a house.
I hope not, because if that's the case, then the empire implodes. It needs to get better before it gets worse.
Yeah, I also hope so.
Because if it gets worse for their generation, we're really fucked.
But hey, I mean, maybe she's super, super successful and she doesn't need the money, and then we just keep the money, right? And then it's ours.
Have you thought about, like, because once I became a father, I want to be careful, because I'm trying to have this conversation with a woman, and I'm trying to use the Venn diagram, because I know that fundamentally your role is different than mine, and I appreciate that. I'm not saying that as like a detriment. I'm just saying Like I know my wife's strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's why we work well together. But I am curious if some of the variables that I contemplate could possibly also be some of the things that you contemplate. And that is, I could not agree more about the legacy wealth. And like, I often tell my wife, like the day that I die, I want to be the most like melancholy day. Because I want everybody to be like, oh my gosh, grandpa's dead, or oh my gosh, dad's dead. Simultaneously, the inheritance that they get.
Yeah, exactly.
I want them to be like, holy shit, granddad or dad, thanks, appreciate you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my goal as a man.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that's like every woman's goal. It could also be like the sense of accomplishment of like rearing children that are prepared. Like Bruna does a much better job of like teaching my daughter, where like she'll sit down with Adriana and be like, we do this, we do that.
Yeah.
I like to think that I am the example. So like, I don't necessarily like sit down with her and talk to her. I'll be like, I kind of show her, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this up is, as a woman, at what point do you start to feel like this is my responsibility, to this is our responsibility with your partner, to this is his responsibility? Does my question make sense? Like at what point does it become a responsibility or a sacrifice for you, to us, to him?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. We've had these conversations before, and I guess our relationship's just not very conventional. You know, like he owns his own business. He's working really, really hard.
Seems good to me.
You know, to succeed.
Go on.
To what?
Go on.
Oh, just like
it's not conventional in what respect?
Well, I just mean like he's
busy.
Would
a not busy man interest you?
No, it's not that. I think that it's just, you know, he's working very hard to see success in this business, and he's doing such a good job at it. But with that being said, like there's a lot of things that are very different for him than it is for me in my W-2 job in corporate America with health insurance and all of these benefits.
Yeah, you guys come from different worlds.
He doesn't have the he doesn't have the luxury of some of the things that I have. So I think that does play a role in how our roles in our relationship are viewed, because, you know, obviously like, I'm fortunate enough to have insurance through my work, and Ruby's on my insurance. So I worry about those things. I worry about having her as a beneficiary on my life insurance policy and making sure that she's set up if anything were to, God forbid, happen to me. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my mind that's a little bit more on the like structured.
Baby girl.
Like, I just want to make sure that a lot of things are structured and taken care of, but I also want to be there to nurture and teach my daughter and, you know, show her things and make sure that she's doing good. I think that Jamie's...
Do you want to bring her over here?
You can see if you want.
Let's see
Jamie's like, give me a break.
I know. You've been doing great, brother.
Hi, Sissy.
Oh, she's so much happier now.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
I know. It's mommy. She's talking.
Yes, we're talking about Dad.
We're talking about you.
Yeah?
I know. I look like every foreigner you've ever met. I know.
She raised her eyebrows. She's so funny with her eyebrows.
You want to talk too?
You say hi.
What do you think? You know what? What do you think about macroeconomics?
What do you think about marketing, Ruby?
She said, buy low, sell high. I agree.
Yeah.
You're a smart kid.
She's like, Mom's going to get me a house when I'm older? Cool. But yeah, I mean, I understand the question. I just think that
She can touch it.
Okay. We think of things a lot differently. Like Jamie's going to be and Jamie is a great role model for her to be more fun and let loose. Like, I think that I can be very uptight sometimes, and I'm the person that...
You need both.
Yeah.
You need both. Like, you can't have... I know, right? You need both. You have to have... I said it yesterday. You know what I love? Okay, the motif of the podcast when I first started it was black and white, because it was over the yin-yang symbol.
Yeah.
Because there's the good and the bad, the black and the white and the black. And I do believe that symbol is a universal symbol for everything in life. And I believe this about, like, parenting as well. Within my wife are aspects of me, but not all of me. Yeah. And within me are aspects of my wife. Like, I've learned... Dude, my wife has taught me to be a lot more patient and affectionate. Like, before my wife and my daughter, I was colder. I was. And, like, I'm sure before me, my wife was a lot more emotional and less logical, to be frank. Sorry, like, Ruby. And I think that's... not to get like religious, but the older I get, the more that I've accomplished in my life, the more that I do in my life, the more I realize that God exists. Because there's almost like this you have a kid and you're doing this with someone, and it's the hardest thing, but it's the most rewarding thing, but you have your weak moments and you rely on one another. So it's like this empowering moment, but also this like I've never felt stronger as a father and weak as a father.
Yeah.
Because I'm so reliant on someone. But then also there's my moments of like, my wife is gone for 2 weeks, so I'm like, this is my fucking time to shine. Yeah. Let me show you I got this. I know, baby. I know. It's like that, right? I guess what I'm trying to say to everybody is, and I try to emphasize this on this podcast, have kids.
Yeah.
Have kids.
Oh, yeah.
Don't wait for the money. Don't wait for all this. Obviously, find a partner. Let me preface it that. Find someone that'll stick around. But have kids. Yeah. It's the best fucking thing.
I agree.
I shouldn't curse in front of a lady. I'm sorry.
Okay. It changes your life for the better, absolutely.
I know. What is that? It's only hundreds of dollars.
She's like, have kids. Everyone have kids.
Do you want baby brother or baby sister?
Yeah, Jamie.
Baby brother.
I could have all girls and be totally happy.
But I'm the same way. Before the girl, I wanted a boy. I did want a boy. Now, I have an uncle who has 4 girls. Yeah. And before Adriana, I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Now, we were in Albania, and I got to talk with him and everything, and I've never resonated more with him. I was like, dude, if I had... I know.
Sorry, I took you away from the microphone. Here,
But if I only had 4 girls, easy peasy.
I think that we were both like, oh, we want a boy. But then we found out she was a girl, and it was just over the moon. Oh, yeah. And now I can't imagine myself having a boy, to be honest.
No, I think...
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah!
Wow. That was intense.
It's all right. At this point, they've turned down the microphone.
Yeah. No,
You're
that's
doing
expensive.
Great. Listen, I do also want to appreciate, because like as a father, I totally understand how difficult this is, like to coordinate and everything. So for you to give me your time, I want to say like a month ago, and for you to do it today.
Of course.
I also want to say, I'm really impressed with both of you. You're crushing it with the gym, which I understand that world a little bit better than yours, forgive me.
Sure.
So I understand like how difficult it is to like get something up and running, especially a gym during COVID when you did it from the garage, and then you met this girl, and then you guys built more together than you had individually. Meanwhile, even the first time I talked to you, Demi, when Jamie was done with his podcast, and I was like, who the fuck is this girl? You know what I mean? And then when I talked to you off the record, I think we talked for like 45 minutes or an hour after the fact, you strike me as a very intellectual, driven, disciplined, financially literate, and caring individual.
Thank you.
You found a good partner.
Yes.
And I love your story. I like being around you guys, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very good.
You guys are good energy, good people. And it's a constant reminder. Sometimes, this is going to sound kind of dark, but I'm going with a good thing here. Sometimes there's moments where I'm less optimistic about the future. There are things that I see geopolitically, market, economically, all these other things where I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck does tomorrow bring? Yeah. And then sometimes I look, and that's macro, right? Like big, like way bigger than me. I can't fluctuate these things. Then I sit down and then I realize everything's fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Everything's gonna be fine. Before we put a nightcap on this, I wanted to apologize if we didn't touch on all the topics you wanted to talk on.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, this was
great. We can easily have you again.
Yeah.
Before we put a nightcap on this, is there anything else you want to touch on, discuss, or say?
I don't think so. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think it's just super important to, just work really hard and absolutely chase after the life that you want. If I could have seen myself in the position that I'm in today a year ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it, and I'm just thankful for the hard work and the things that make me tired because they make me proud every day. You want this?
Oh, that's fine. I should have known better. That was on me. I should have known better.
But you know what?
It's only Tavon Taylor touched that with his hands.
But I really enjoyed this conversation. It was great. So thank you for having me on.
No, I appreciate you immensely, guys. Seriously, both of you.
Yeah.
Usually I shake the guest's hand, but thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much. She's like, get that shit off me, boy.